It's the 7th of May and I'm Tom Glasson. Welcome to The Roast. Tonight we're looking at a lawsuit that could remove chaplains from schools. No chaplains in schools? What's next? No teachers in church? Teachers in schools, chaplains in church. Right, and I still sit here. Great, thank you. Tonight, Ron Williams challenges the chaplaincy program in the High Court again, and Australia is hated by almost every country in our region. First though, Mark Humphries has the headlines.
Peter Costello, former Treasurer and current Prime Minister in that parallel universe where Howard stepped aside, has come out against the Abbott government's proposed deficit levy.
The proposed tax levy has no economic benefit. It will detract from growth by reducing consumption.
Peter Costello there, delivering a surplus of scorn. The former Treasurer expressed his opinion in a column in yesterday's Daily Telegraph. Not to be outdone, today's Telegraph features equally pressing financial advice: how to dress like a boganeer. The coalition has been on the back foot over the deficit levy, but government sources have cited Costello's own superannuation surcharge from 1996 as an example of how this type of tax could be effective. What do you say to that, Costello?
The surcharge was one of the worst things I ever did.
And that includes this. It's fair to say Mr. Abbott and Mr. Costello's relationship isn't what it used to be. No more open-mouth kisses from Tony. Get out of there, Howard! Australia Post, the business where saliva is considered an adhesive, has flagged the possible introduction of a user pays postal system, as distinct from the current system where the user pays. The new system would see the introduction of an annual bill for Australian residents, meaning you would now pay to receive letters as well as send them. In other words, there'd be a bill for receiving your bills. Where will this madness end? The idea was floated by Australia Post chairman John Stanhope, seen here bravely touching Australia's dirtiest post box. What's going on there? Is someone mailing dirt? He says the proposal is a viable option since letter operations suffered a $218 million loss last year. I'm guessing the loss is due to the internet changing the way we communicate. Either that or Australia Post lost an unregistered envelope containing $218 million. Mr. Stanhope has also flagged the potential of reducing mail deliveries to 3 days a week, a system already tested in New Zealand. And what's the response been there, John?
Apparently the response is, that's okay.
I don't know about you viewers, but I think Australia deserves okay. For The Roast, I'm Mark Humphries.
Thank you, Mark. Well, next up tonight, like a teenager who has just started learning the drums, Australia's asylum seeker policies are continuing to cause trouble with our neighbours, attracting fresh criticism from both Papua New Guinea and Indonesia. It was reported yesterday that Australia had added 3 passengers to an asylum seeker boat before turning it back to Indonesia. Indonesian Foreign Minister Marty Natalegawa, seen here tipping Bob Carr after mistaking him for a valet, described the allegations as a very serious development, adding that he has had it up to here with Foreign Minister Valet. And if Australia did add 3 asylum seekers to a boat that it then turned back, well, it's not just a serious development, it's also a strange one. Because if Immigration Minister Scott Morrison wants to end people smuggling, he'll now not just have to deal with boats coming into this country, but also the ones leaving it.
Come on, you 3. There's still plenty of space up front. You're going to escape this hellhole and make a better life for yourselves. Oh no, I'm sprung.
Put your hands up, people smuggler.
No, I'm not a people smuggler. I work for the Australian Immigration Department.
Oh, then you'll know what the people smuggling prisons are like.
I do, actually. I built them.
But of course that's just a fiction. The Australian government would never get involved in people smuggling. If they put extra passengers on a boat and sent it back to Indonesia, they'd have definitely done it legally.
It actually raises the question of whether those involved in this particular exercise have committed the offence of people smuggling.
Wow! So how did the Immigration Department respond to the reports?
The government does not comment on water operations.
Yeah, but it would be hard to get phone reception to comment on people smuggling when you're out on the water smuggling people. And the criticisms of Australia's Immigration Department didn't just stop with one country in the Southeast Asian region. The Governor of Port Moresby slammed the Manus Island detention facility in Papua New Guinea and urged his people to have a more human approach. A more human approach? So Australia is what, subhuman?
Let's not act like Australians and allow their policies and culture of detention forever to dictate our approach.
Culture of detention? So usually when I think about what it means to be Australian, it's Barbies and watching the cricket, but now I guess I'll have to include indefinitely detaining the world's most desperate people. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie!
Shut up, Tom! You know in our office when someone does something really stupid, we all say, "That's so Tom."
Yeah, they're talking about Tom from MySpace, right?
Yeah, sure we are. That's so Tom. Now, thanks to our new culture of detention, "That's so Australian" is going to be the new shorthand for every time we do something horrific. Turn a blind eye to human rights abuse? That's so Australian. Kill a buttload of sharks? That's so Australian. Start your own people smuggling operation to stop people smuggling? That's so Australian. And also a little bit Tom. Honestly, we're one Dennis Rodman visit away from becoming the North Korea of the Asia Pacific. And I, for one, am going to do something about it.
Oh, you're going to defend our national reputation by doing some good deeds in Australia's name.
No, I'm defecting to Indonesia to try and repair our relationship with them. I hear the Australian government is offering free boat rides up that way.
Right. Well, there is one country in the region that doesn't hate us. The government of Sri Lanka has publicly thanked Australia for its bold decision not to co-sponsor a UN resolution to investigate alleged human rights abuses in the South Asian nation, which is diplomatic speak for "holy shit, you bastards are even crazier than us." The High Commission of Sri Lanka also said the government of Australia considers accountability and human rights concerns should be addressed within an internal mechanism and not by any international investigation as suggested by other countries. And of course we would think that when our people smugglers. So how will these latest developments affect our human rights legacy? Alex Lee joins us live from Australia's Trophy Cabinet. Alex, how's it looking?
Tom, as a founding member of the United Nations, Australia has a long and proud tradition of upholding human rights. Australia won the Burning Bra for women's suffrage in 1911 and the Silver Noose for abolishing capital punishment in 1973.
Yeah, so we're doing okay.
Don't interrupt. God, that's so Tom. Anyway, as I was saying, lately our asylum seeker policies have seen us receive some more dubious awards. Last year, a UN Committee on Refugees found Australia guilty of nearly 150 violations of international law.
Oh, that's a lot of violations.
Yes, only 50 more violations and Australia gets a star on the Human Misery Walk of Shame.
Oof, come on Aussie.
And now Australia has been nominated alongside Sri Lanka for a Blindie. That's the award that recognises turning a blind eye to alleged war crimes.
Alex, why would Australia stick up for Sri Lanka?
Well, right now the government needs all the friends it can get to cooperate with Operation Sovereign Borders. It's good to have friends, Tom, even if they are a little war crimey.
And even if we don't win the Blindie, it's an honour just to be nominated.
No, Tom, it's really not.
Oh, she probably doesn't want to jinx it. We'll be right back.
While Tom decides what to wear to the blindies, why don't you jump on Twitter and answer tonight's question? Have you ever turned a blind eye to human rights abuses? How much abuse was it? Do you feel subhuman? Do you feel Australian? We'd love to hear about it at the Roast TV or hashtag Roast TV.
Finally tonight, the Commonwealth funding of the National Schools Chaplaincy program is again under threat as the case heads back to the High Court. The $222 million chaplaincy program places into schools religious counsellors who, according to the Australian Psychology Council, are inferior to professional counsellors, but superior to a brisk stroll to get some fresh air, though only just. And given that the program only offers each school up to $20,000, they can't really afford the high-quality understanding that real counsellors provide, and instead of settling for that cheaper, it's all part of God's plan therapy. And of course there is the danger that some of the chaplains could push a conservative agenda during their counselling sessions.
So, what's on your mind?
Well, I think I might be gay.
Gay? Oh, that's horrible. Have you tried praying?
I'm not religious.
Oh, well, that's your problem. Better start praying. Still gay?
I think so.
Right. Well, if we just take a look at the manual, it says... Yep, you should be put to death. So, still gay?
No.
Oh, so glad I could help. Otherwise, you'd go to hell.
The man responsible for bringing this matter to the High Court is Ron Williams, a jazz singer and therefore one of the few people allowed to have the word scat in his internet search history. Let's take a look how it all got to this place. Back in 2012, Ron Williams said, "Hey, I reckon the federal funding of the chaplaincy program isn't constitutional," to which the Gillard government replied, "No, it's cool." But Mr. Williams went, "Oh, I don't think it is." So he went to the High Court and they went, "Yeah, this guy's right." So the Gillard government went, "Oh, that," and passed a new law to make it legal. Done. Until Mr. Williams went, "Hey, I reckon the new law you made isn't legal." And now they're back in the High Court. And the law that Mr Williams is challenging concerns the separation between federal and state funding, which affects up to 10% of Commonwealth spending. And that is Commission of Audit levels of cuts. So the government says, thank you, Ron Williams. But where would those cuts in spending come from?
What sort of programs could be affected?
Pretty much anything.
The government says, you, Ron Williams, because pretty much everyone uses pretty much anything. So by challenging the funding of just one controversial program, Mr Williams has tugged on a thread that could unravel a pretty big sweater of Commonwealth services. He means well, but the butterfly effect could be devastating.
Oh, damn uneven footpath. Someone should do something about that. I'm going to take this to the High Court.
Well, I wasn't expecting that. Who knew that state footpath funding was tied to Australia's gravity budget?
That's the problem with the butterfly effect. You try to cancel a butterfly's chaplaincy program, you end up cutting 10% of all butterfly funding. And I don't think their little butterfly hearts could take the hit. They already only live for 24 hours. But regardless of the result of the High Court case, the Commission of Audit recommended the $222 million school chaplaincy program should be abolished, even though the coalition promised to continue it before the last federal election. And for some reason, I think this is one pre-election promise that Abbott might just keep. And that is so Tom. Good night. Hey Nick, did I use it right?
Oh, don't ask. Asking is so Tom.